This is Market Day Report. Good morning. Okay, we've got a few reports coming out from USDA later today. More on that in a moment. First off, how about the corn market? Overnight trade. How did we go? Well, back into the red as corn struggled in that overnight session. Now, it did settle higher yesterday, breaking a 3-day losing streak. December, 418 3/4. Down 2 cents on the overnight session. And then over to soybeans. Beans, again, yesterday finishing the session higher. And the November at 10.17 was down 6 3/4 cents. Okay, let's go from soybeans over to the wheat market. And wheat, 4 lower, 537.5. Hard red, trading 3.5 lower overnight, 525. And then the cotton market in the overnight session, new crop down 17 at 68.54. Let's go to Springfield, Missouri. President, Midwest Market Solutions, Brian Hoops. All right, Brian, couple of things, but I'm going to let you take the lead on this flash sell overnight because yesterday I got it wrong.
Well, we both got it wrong yesterday early. USDA said it was China, ended up not being China. It was South Korea. They made a correction a little bit later that morning. So hopefully this morning's numbers are correct. 103,000 metric tons of corn sold to Mexico, 140,000 corn sold to South Korea, and 142,500 metric tons of soybeans sold to Mexico. So we had a little bit of corn, a little bit of soybeans. Let's hope these are accurate numbers. We have a hard time trusting the government sometimes that they are getting these numbers correct. Bottom line here, it didn't really impact us much yesterday. We did have some sales, of course, the corn, although it was not to China, it didn't really help us out all that much. We saw a little bit of a sell-off when announced it wasn't China. Market came back by end of the day, but again, overnight here, we're back lower. And it's kind of a concern that last several Fridays has kind of been a higher type trade. And then we sell off during Sunday night and into Monday, Tuesday ahead of the crop ratings. We're not even trying to rally so far here in the overnight trade or early morning hours. We're lower, both corn and soybeans, and likely to see improvement in these ratings possibly on Monday, Tuesday. Again, crop ratings very high for this time of year. Weather forecast looking very bearish and leaving traders right now to sell any type of small rallies that we get. So maybe if the ratings do back up a little bit Monday, we'll see some sort of a bounce. But again, with the forecast looking cool and wet, just nearly ideal in the 6-10 day and 8 to 14 day, these rallies likely to be sold until things start to change.
All right, Brian, I mentioned just a moment ago some reports from USDA. So how about we take a break and we'll come back and talk about those reports. Market Day Report continues in a moment. So we get a cattle on feed report from USDA, and that's coming out at 3 o'clock Eastern. So we get that. We also get, well, an inventory report from USDA, and we'll get a cold storage report all today, so could affect the markets. Also, we have cash cattle we'll throw in there. How did we finish off the session yesterday? Well, live cattle finished in the red, down $1.15 at 225.87. Deferreds were lower as well. To the feeder market, feeders on Thursday lower across the board. August lost 245 to 329.07, and the September's trading at a 70-cent premium to the August, 329.77, but it fell 212 on the session. Hogs were higher, and I guess you could say the hog market is higher for 7 straight sessions, but it's not completely true because that August contract had been higher for 6 straight sessions. It settled lower yesterday, while the deferred's in higher territory. Helping us break down what could happen with reports today, Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. All right, so what are the trade guesses? Where do you line up?
I think we're very close to where the average trade guess is. We don't look for a lot of real surprises coming out of that cattle on feed today. The numbers look to be a little bit less than a year ago, just telling us that supplies are tight and going to remain very tight. So you're looking at, 98% on feed, and around that 98% or so placement numbers. Marketing's around 98, 98 and a half. Very friendly type numbers, longer term. The cattle inventory report also comes out this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and the early estimates that I've seen, they're less than last year. But we didn't have a report last year, but so it's making it difficult to really give good estimate numbers. But that's what the trade is trying to attempt. And as far as the cold storage, there's not much as far as estimates go ahead of that. It really won't be much of a market mover. So we've had a little bit of cash trade this week at that 230 to 231 in the Southern Plains. That looks to be supportive to especially the August contract, which is discount to it already. And as we go into the delivery period, which will begin coming up in about a week and a half, then we're going to see that market really, I think, tighten up against the cash markets. But cash coming in steady to a little bit better. That's supportive feature. Likely to see just some choppy, wide swinging type trade until we get into this afternoon's cattle on feed report numbers and the quarterly inventory numbers.
All right, Brian, from cash to the dollar, talking U.S. dollar index now. And have you had an eye on what's happening with the dollar?
In the trend indicators we use, the trend has turned back to the plus side on that dollar index. So we've broken out of its downtrend and turned higher. That's probably one of the reasons why we've seen wheat market just lag at these lows that it's at. It's holding support, but really doesn't show much in the way of any upside potential or even willingness to try and probe to the upside. So that higher dollar likely to start to slow down some of our export business and keep a lid on rally attempts as well as these good weather conditions that we have. So that's something that, unfortunately, we've turned that dollar back to the upside.
All right. Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. We'll see you back here on Monday.